Hey, it's Aaron from GameEnthus.com, and this time I'm checking out power plants. No, not like this. Interesting, but also not like this. Yeah, a lot of power, but not this either. Yeah, more like this. Power Plants is being published by KTBG and was designed by Adam E. Daulton with art from Apolline Etienne. Yeah, we're off to a great start. Keep in mind that the components you're going to see in this version of the game are prototypes. They're for previews. I'll show an image of what the actual tiles will look like in the finished product. So in Power Plants, players are going to be wizards who are trying to get the best out of a shared resource that they really don't want to share. So we open this box, show you components, and run you through what some of the turns might look like. So these are the components that comprise Power Plants. You're going to have 64 patch tiles. Keep in mind, like I said, these feel really nice. Like these are the prototype versions, but they do make a nice clacking sound, which is obligatory for. I could do this all day, but I'm not going to. These are how the prototype tiles are going to fit together, like this, but the actual tiles will look more like this. You have 100 sprite markers, 20 for each player. This game does play 2 to 5. There is a solo mode. I have not actually played the solo mode yet, so I can't really go into depth in that, but there is one forthcoming. And you're also going to have a whole bunch of gem tokens. And then this red marker here is the actual wizard. If you look carefully, you can sort of see a wizard in it. You looked, didn't you? You're also going to have player guides. I think I have 4 of them. I'm not sure how many the actual game will come with. So player guides are going to have all the detail you're going to need for the various plants that are going to be in the game. There are 8 different types of plants, and they all do different things. So in typical KTBG fashion, this is the type of game that will scale. So you will have 8 different types of plants. Move this down over here. And this is a tile placement area control game, variable powers as well. That's the thing. You know, powers have to vary. Otherwise, what are we doing here? In typical KTBG fashion, the difficulty is going to scale. So there's not like huge swings in components or game structure when you are playing a game when you're playing a game with a younger set of players versus maybe players who are a little bit older or players who are more hobbyists or enthusiast gamers. All you would do is for each plant ability, you have a plant and a grow for each one. So if you were playing with maybe some younger players, all you would do is you would just sort of ignore the grow and just focus on the plant ability. And that's pretty much it. That's a really easy way to scale the game. I like that. That's how that works. So let me just go over what some of the plants do here. So these are the 8 different plants that are in Power Plants, and they all have varying plant and grow abilities. They all look very different. They also have different timing categories. And what that really means is the way in which you combine them, because a game consists of 5 different plants. So the rules actually recommend that you have at least 2 morning plants, which might be the Emberwood or the Starflower. And you'd have at least 1 noon plant, which would be the Tanglethorn or the Deeproot. And you'd have at least 1 night plant, which would be the Snapjaw, the Wingbeam, or the Frightshade. 5 will get chosen and put into this bag. And players are going to be drafting tiles from the bag and then playing them into a communal area that they're trying to get control of. So Frightshade allows you to move 1 sprite from a field next to the wizard into an adjacent patch, and you gain 1 gem for each sprite now in that patch. What that means is if you're seeing a lot of players putting their sprites on a particular patch, And a patch is one individual tile. A field is 2 or more tiles. So I'll be using, so patch is 1, field is multiples of the same, multiples of the same. So this is a patch. This is a field. See? Patch, field, patch, field, patch. Oh, 2 patches. See, got you there. That is what the Fright Shade does when it plants. If you grow a Fright Shade, it means you move one sprite from a patch next to the growing Fright Shade into an adjacent patch. So you're trying to really move your and other people's sprites around to your advantage to get somebody out of a certain field. So now you have the majority of it. If you look on all the tiles, there are numbers on them. I believe they go 1 through 8. As far as I know. What's interesting is if there's ever a tie, like this is a 1 and a 7. If there's ever a tie at the end of the game when you're counting up patches for scoring, and I'll show you that. That's sort of, yeah. That's how you decide during final game scoring. If there's a tie, if you're on the lowest numbered tile of that field, you win. Which is very interesting. Like you could have every player battling it out in one particular area, but the tiebreaker is if you have control over the lowest numbered of that tile type, you win. That I've seen that happen to people, and by that I mean that happened to me, and I was very upset. But that's the game. You begin with the highest number of each different plant that was chosen. So the 6 of all these is going to be out already. Each player would blindly draw 2 tiles. So I got 2 of the same. I can keep them. I cannot. There actually is a surplus. So you would actually draw 3 tiles and place them out. Wow, so much variety. My quirk is really working here. Players are able to swap out from the surplus set. So if I didn't want all of those, I could just swap this out. And there you go. First player is going to be here on the left. Second player is going to be here on the right. Would start off with the wizard token and begin the game. One thing I did not mention is if you notice, if you can see in all of these, you have, even though there's cubes on the artwork also, key thing I forgot, forgive me. It says grow everywhere. That term is now sprout. So every time I said grow, I should have been saying sprout. So from now on, I'll be saying sprout. So planting and sprouting are what are the 2 things, your 2 options for each turn, planting or sprouting. Planting, sprouting, planting, sprouting. If you do the planting action for each, well, these 4, you're able to take a sprite and place it, onto the same tile that you're putting down, except for the Tanglethorn. The Tanglethorn, you do not put your own sprite on that tile when you plant it. Snapjaw, Deeproot, Starflower, Emberwood, all of those. If you see the little green cube icon here, for all those you do. Tanglethorn, you do not. Player on the left here is going to start, and what are they going to do here? They have an Emberwood and they have a Deeproot. Now, the Deeproot lets you add 2 sprites to 1 patch, and then 1 sprite to a different type of patch that are both in a straight line from where the wizard is, which is very useful. Whereas the Emberwood allows me to get some gems out there for everybody to start fighting over. What shall I do? Player 1 is going to place an Emberwood, and they're also going to put one of their own sprites on it. Yay, control. And they're going to they're going to add 1 sprite and 5 gems from the supply to 1 patch next to where the wizard is. Interesting. So what that means is I'm going to take a fiver, and I can add it to a patch next to it. It didn't say a field, this means a patch. So it could be, a patch is an individual tile. So I could, and I can add one sprite to it. So for right now, this is a 5 gem, and I have my own sprite on both. So right now I'm in control of this, and I feel pretty good. So that was player 1's turn, and then the wizard will go over to player 2, and player 1 would also re-up. Player 2's turn. What is player 2 going to do? Player 2 has the Tanglethorn and the Snapjaw. Player 2 did that, and they're going to automatically put one of their own sprites on it, and the wizard, excuse me. So for the Snapjaw, when you plant, you can capture one rival sprite from a field next to the wizard, and then add one sprite to any one patch in that field. I could essentially capture player 1's sprite from there and then add my own to any patch in that field. So now I'm on the location with the 5. So then player 2 would draw back up, and there we have it. So now this would go over to back to player 1. So player 1 was in control of this initially. Now they're not. So they're probably pretty salty about that. So player 1 has a Starflower. So maybe player 1's like, I want to go for some immediate, immediate points. Or they could do the straight line thing. What makes the most sense? If they do the deep root, that would enable them to add another sprite here and another sprite here. No, actually they could add 2 here because it's in a straight line for the deep root, and they will be able to add one sprite to a different patch also in a straight line. That seems pretty advantageous. Or remember, you can grow anything. So if I put either one of these tiles here, if I put this tile here and I grow, I could do 2 Snapjaw. I could do the Snapjaw, and I sprout. Gotta keep saying that. And I sprout. I could do the sprout action for the Snapjaw here, and then the sprout action for the Tanglethorn. I don't know what I want to do. I honestly think I'm going to just plant here, which means I can add 2 sprites to one patch and 1 sprite to a different patch that are both in a straight line. So straight line, I'm adding 2 patches there, and straight line, I'm adding 1 patch here. So that seems like a pretty decent turn. All right, so let's say player 2 puts the Tanglethorn there. They're not going to put a sprite on it because you don't put a sprite on the tile you place when you use the Tanglethorn. They're going to do the sprout action. So their sprout action for deep root is add 1 sprite to a patch that is in a straight line from the wizard regardless of distance. So I could do here or anywhere here. Let's see, I'm sort of planning, so I do that. And the sprout action for the Snapjaw is capture one lone rival sprite from a patch next to the Snapjaw. So I'm going to capture another one of player 1's sprites, because why wouldn't I? And then I draw back up. At the end of the game, players will count up all the gems on the tiles that they control, and you would use the final scoring chart at the end. So this is not the end at all. So how it works is the largest patch we have, the largest field size we have is, well, technically a field, according to this, is a is one patch. So this would qualify at the end of the game as a field of one patch, in which player 2 would get 1 point. However, these 3 here, actually, I'll use this one here. This, like I said, it's not the end of the game, but this one here, because player 2 pretty much has the foothold here, they would get 3 points for having first place for this field. The nice thing is, second place does get a little bit of something should you have some of your sprites there. So that is useful. And if you are tied, player with the most gems wins. So like I said, you're counting up the gems you've earned on the tiles you have control over, the patches you have control over, excuse me, and the gems you've earned throughout the game. And that is power plants. Adam Daulton and KTBG have submerged a seed in seldom seen soil that hits a sweet spot right between an experience that's somewhat casual and incredibly strategic, with even more room for growth. See how I did that? More room for sprout. It's fine. KTBG have mastered the art of creating something that can appeal to a very, very wide audience. So that's Power Plants. There'll be a link in the description to click on it so you can support on Kickstarter. I have a feeling people who like area control and tile placement, you will be good. Like, this Power Plants has you covered. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Take care. Stay safe. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Yeah. Stay safe. Be blessed.